All aboard! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dolphin fans of all ages, I am Beast Mikey. You've now riding in my train of thought. It's time to talk about Miami Mock Mondays on a Tuesday. I know, it's a little late, but I wanted to wait until we got the 7th round pick involved with the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. All the departures, if you will, from the Tua train and on the Tua train, if you will. I mentioned them yesterday in the Train of Thought video with the Dolphins, so go back and check that out on the socials media platforms, not just here on YouTube. Anyway, let's get right into it with Miami Mock Mondays on a Tuesday. And this was actually an interesting draft for me with the 11th pick. I really thought about taking Caleb Downs again, but I've never had a Kenyon Sadiq draft, and this actually seems like a really good time to take one. With his blend of athleticism as a tight end, he's a sneaky good blocker, but where he wins is that his receiving threat and mismatch ability is ridiculous. And I think taking him at 11 would make some sense. Give Malik Willis another reliable target on the seams. I really vibe with it, and I think he complements Greg Dulcich pretty well. Dulcich, who re-signed after my video I did. I think that's a good look to have Dulcich re-sign here and have Sadiq as kind of the combo and collab tight end. So I'm digging that. And his player comp, ironically, is another former Dolphin in Jonnu Smith, who early days Jonnu, and even Dolphins Jonnu especially, he showed himself to be really good. Last year, Jonnu, kind of a miss, if you will, but a good pick, a good player. Jonnu Smith was a good pickup for Miami. He had a Pro Bowl season with the Dolphins in 24, and I think that would be a pretty solid comp. We got Dolphins Jonnu Smith out of Kenyon Sadiq if Miami took him. So, okay, I didn't take Caleb Downs at 11. So I need a safety, and especially after the Minkah trade, I absolutely need one. Emmanuel McNeill-Warren, fortunately, was available in round number 2, and it gives me a great blend of the physicality I would love in a safety. It gives me the great blend of the cover ability I want in a safety, an all-around balanced safety, and at 6'2", I love the versatility that he can have when it comes to that particular position. And his player comp, and there's been several of them, I've used McNeill-Warren obviously in these mocks recently, one of which was Justin Reed because of his ability to not only play in the box, but his ability to go cover if he needs to, or make some plays if he has to and if he possibly can. So I want that kind of physicality in my defense, and obviously to come help run support. That's another big one because we've had a few games over the last couple years where we got gashed when it came to stopping the run. So Emmanuel McNeill-Warren, EMW, I think will probably be a pretty solid pick if Miami's able to get him. That's kind of the theme I had with this next pick as well. In Davidson Igbinosun is his last name. And he comes from Ohio State. He's the 6'2" corner. He's got some real good speed, real good ability in that realm, but also the size and the lankiness to be very disruptive as a DB, and also physical enough to step to the more physical receivers. Again, kind of want that in my corners. I want that in my secondary. I want some more physicality in general on this defense, some toughness on this defense. And there were times the defense was a little tougher down the stretch when it came to colder weather, but we do need a little bit more of that in spades. And his comp is similar to Tyrion Davis's comp last week. Is Tariq Woolen. It's a little less shifty and a little less athletic version of Tariq Woolen. And his ceiling seems to be Stephon Gilmore. He's kind of built in the Gilmore frame. And obviously, those of us remember Gilmore as a great corner and Defensive Player of the Year at his peak of powers in 2019. It should have been the frame mark for Xavier Howard's 2020 Defensive Player of the Year award that he got robbed from, but I digress. Anyway, I think this would be a really good idea to take Igbinosun as a boundary corner, assuming we don't keep Russell Douglas and or Jack Jones. I would think that one of those guys may be gone and we keep the other and then have a bunch of kids at cornerback with like Juju Brents or Marshall or Kader Kohou if he comes back. We'll see how that goes. physicality. That is something that we desperately do need on this team, on both sides of the ball, really. And you would probably notice on my draft so far, the biggest glaring need left is probably a guard that could start on the left or right side. And I went to Boise, Idaho, aka Boise State in this case, for said solution. And I decided to go Cage Casey with the 87th pick. And in Casey's case, the other key here is that he does fit some zone blocking scheme and is quick enough to play on the inside. Now, yes, he does have experience as a tackle, but I do think, and a lot of people would tend to believe, that he is probably better off as a guard in the NFL. And that's perfectly fine because we need a starting guard in the NFL, along with Salvanea, who I would still love to move to the right side and let Casey, in this case, who was a left-sided offensive lineman, play left guard, let Salvanea play right. I think that would just fit so much better for all parties involved. And he's a road grader, and that's something that we desperately could use to help with the obviously third and shorts, because we still had some issues with that. And he could, I think, fill that role pretty well. Similar in a sense to Sam Cosmi, who was a road grader and a mauler type, which, again, I've said for weeks, we could use one of those. And we could use the type of dude that can just be here to serve up pancakes on a Sunday morning, IHOP challenge, and we just go eat and let H-Han and Wright and Ollie Gordon all feast and just get some yards on the ground and just wear down teams so that we can use the play actions and cook down the field with Willis's arm. So that's where I went here with Cage Casey at 87. Speaking of using Willis's arm, we need another receiver at some point. Now, sure, we can go back to Green Bay and get Romeo Doubs at some point in the day, assuming that he's still available as of this recording. But Elijah Surratt is the pick here. Now, yes, I could have gone with Bryce Lance in terms of the speed requirement because this offense does have some speed. But again, thunder is needed to complement the lightning, I think. And Surratt does bring some thunder in the sense of his physicality. He is a got-to-have-it today type of receiver. He's 6'2", and anything in his vicinity, he generally is able to grab and snatch. And that is a very good look, not to mention the fact he's a pretty solid blocking receiver, which, again, something we could use to be a little bit more physical with the run game. And that kind of complements Michael Pittman, who, as we know, got traded to the Steelers yesterday to be I think a pretty good receiver too, to help him with DK. I think that's going to be a really good look for the Steelers, but we ain't talking about the Steelers right now. We're talking about who Elijah Surratt compares to other than Michael Pittman, and that's Nico Collins, who Collins is similar in that build. I think Collins is a little tall. I believe Collins is 6'3", 6'4"-ish, but is still a gotta-have-it two-day type of guy, and is sneaky fast. He's not going to overwhelm you with speed, Surratt. Not that Collins does either, but he's fast enough, and that works. But give me the route running, give me the reliable hands, give me the physical blocking. I will take that in a wide receiver to complement what Waddle and Washington do. I will take that. So Elijah Surratt was the pick at 90. I was hoping he would fall here, and it was just too good to pass up. Good luck. DDS did not fall to 111, unfortunately, for me, which I love DDS's game in terms of his power abilities and his versatility to work inside. So, okay, I can't get DDS, but why not get LJ Overton, who is similar in that build? A little smaller, sure, but is similar in terms of weight and similar in terms of style. He uses the power game. It's probably a little quicker, I would say, but he also is able to play inside when necessary. And if you want to go a little bit of the Grant Sealer, Overton, defensive end flow, and then let the linebackers kind of run around. This will probably require another edge rusher or two, a pure edge rusher, to flank Chop Robinson here. But LJ Overton's versatility, I think, can be very useful, especially on rushing downs, where he's a good downhill defensive player who can get to running lanes and help plug those. Because, again, we did get gashed sometimes when it came to the opposing team's physical run styles. It did not look good, especially in the New England games. It was not pretty against the Patriots. And with James Cook in the division, we're going to have to deal with that twice a year too. So we got to prepare for that. And Overton's comp is that of, ironically, a first-round pick of the JES and Jeff Hafley regimes in Green Bay, Lucas Van Ness, whom we're going to see a lot more of, I would imagine, because of the Rashawn Gary trade. And we're going to see a lot more of him, I'd imagine, flanking Micah Parsons and maybe being the edge rusher one if Parsons isn't ready to go at the start of the regular season. So in theory, we'll know what LVN actually is up in Green Bay. And LJ Overton, maybe he can play some 3-4 outside as an edge rusher as well, using that kind of power to complement Chomp when Miami goes with the big, beefy D tackle room of Sealer and Grant and Zeke Biggers or Jordan Phillips. Either one works. I think that's not a bad idea to run with that. So LJ Overton was the pick here at 111. The next pick, I wanted to go linebacker, and we did need one more linebacker to help with Jordan Brooks and Ty Dotson and kind of help matters there in the situation. So let's get an understudy for those two. Caleb Eames-Orr, linebacker from TCU, kind of similar in the Brooks level of Shifty and Dotson too, of the more rangy linebacker who could also help in run support, because again, we could certainly use that, but he's decent in coverage as well, and he's able to go sideline to sideline when necessary. And if you're going to play with the zone defense, obviously, that seems kind of vital to me, to have some dudes that can cover the middles and make it very hazardous for receivers or running backs or tight ends that want to frequent those areas. And his comp was a Houston Texan linebacker and a defense that I love watching the see ball out, Henry To'oTo'o, who was very rangy, very athletic, and really makes life easier over the middle for those who dare go over the middle and have the time to, with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson coming for you, one from the east, the other from the west, where your quarterbacks generally go south and Houston's production goes north. I kind of want my defense to have that kind of mentality of we're going to tear you apart and gore you like an actual bull. So I kind of want my defense to have that mentality, and maybe Caleb Eames-Orr can help in this situation. Now, obviously, this is the Drew Allar spot, right? And this was a little tricky for me because Malik Willis is only 26. There's still room to grow here for Willis. There's still peak of powers maybe Willis could get to. Ideally, he gets to them in the next 3 years, and we see that. But I took Allar here anyway because, all right, I want a rookie QB, and I still think Allar can be that guy if the coaching is proper for him. One thing I remembered from the JES presser was that they would take a quarterback every year if they have to. So I think you can take one here later on, especially now that you have Willis, and now you know Willis is QB1. You can take one later on and say, all right, Allar and Ewers, you're fighting for QB2. Let's see what happens here. Physically speaking, I'm taking Allar all day because the arm strength is there. And obviously him being 6'5", he's got some solid mobility. Now, Ewers isn't bad at this, but I think the thing here with Drew, obviously, is between the ears. And can Drew get the coaching between the ears that he needs to take that step that a lot of us who believe in Drew Allar can take forward? With that, the comp is still Kerry Collins, it's still Joe Flacco, and I would still run with that, and I still believe those are real things for Drew Allar. And lastly, because we have an extra pick thanks to the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade and salary dump, let's face it, this was a salary dump, CJ Daniels was the last pick here. And I think with the final pick going forward, I'll be able to double up at one of several positions that I've already taken here. Not quarterback, obviously, but I'll be able to double up at so many other positions with this 238 pick. Because whatever, you can just take the BPA and keep it moving. And in this case with Daniels, it's more physicality. It's good route running. He's 6'2" and can go get the ball in his radius at a pretty good clip. I think he complimented Malachi Tony outstandingly well last year in Miami and had some pretty good production as a wide receiver too. He kind of fits the whole being greater than the sum of his parts trait that seems to be Puka Nacua, that seems to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. None of them seem to blow you away when it comes to their speed, but they seem to blow you away when it comes to their grit and their abilities to route run. And Amon-Ra, I think is a little bit better of a comp when it comes to the blocking style of it and the gotta have it mentality that I think this roster could certainly use more so of. There are gotta have it guys on this team, but I want 50, if you can get 53 guys or close to 53 guys have gotta have it, I'm here for it. And we'll see if CJ Daniels could be one of those guys. So there you have it. That is Miami Mock Mondays on a Tuesday. And NFL free agency is probably going to help me dictate how this draft is going to go and how these drafts are going to go going forward. And when everything is finalized tomorrow, I'm sure that the mocks themselves are going to be entirely different. But that's for next week. Or maybe later this week. We'll see. As for what's definitely happening here later this week, power rankings. We get the NBA and the NHL. Obviously, they're back and in full swing. NHL will come first either tomorrow or Thursday. NBA will then follow either Thursday or Friday. I will do both power rankings this week at these times. So when it comes to hockey, you already know who's going to lead this off. Vancouver, you're going to be the first stop of my next train of thought.